You're listening to School Counseling Simplified, a podcast with easy-to-implement strategies for busy school counselors. Here's your host, Rachel Davis from Bright Futures Counseling.
Thanks for listening to another episode of School Counseling Simplified. In today's episode, I interview Hadley. Hadley is a school counselor and an impact member, and I just loved chatting with Hadley. You can tell that the things she prioritizes and that are most important to her is building rapport and relationships, and she shares some really great strategies on how to do this, specifically in the individual counseling setting. She also shares some really sound advice for new counselors, including the importance of setting boundaries. I think you're going to love this episode with Hadley. And like I said, we chat about individual counseling, which reminds me, I am doing a training on individual counseling that I think you're going to love. It's next week. I don't want you to miss it, so you can save your seat at stressfreeschoolcounseling.com/individual. Okay, let's go to today's episode. Let's be real. Individual counseling can be overwhelming. Groups always seemed fun and easy, but one-on-one sessions made me feel incompetent and doubt my effectiveness. It was hard to find individual materials, and with so many different kiddos to see, I didn't have time to create activities to cover all of their unique needs. I ended up pulling out Jenga for the zillionth time, or just chatting while doing a puzzle, which left me with nothing to show parents and teachers. Oh, and don't even get me started on those K2 kiddos. I was always at a loss with what to do. Can you relate? Even if you've been at your school for years, there are still likely times when you're unsure what to do in individual counseling sessions. That's why learning how to lead engaging and data-driven individual sessions is vital no matter where you are in your counseling journey. Not only will the kids love the hands-on activities, but you'll feel confident and prepared knowing that your lessons are effective. That's why I'm offering a free live training on how to use individual counseling curriculum to engage students and effectively track data. I think you're going to find this so helpful. And for attending, all attendees get a free individual curriculum as well as a PD certificate of attendance. Whatever the reason is that you're looking into this, I get it. If you're ready to enhance your individual counseling sessions and start collecting data so you can feel confident and valued, I want to help you get there faster with this simple training. The best part? It's absolutely free. Go to stressfreeschoolcounseling.com/individual to save your seat. See you there. Hey Hadley, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Rachel?
I'm great. I'm very excited to have you on the podcast today. You were just telling me it's Kindness Week at your school this week.
Yeah. Yes, we celebrate every year by doing like fun dress up days, and then we do kindness activities for people in our community throughout the week. So
fun. Is it
yeah.
Random Acts of Kindness? Is that this week?
Yeah, we just call it Kindness Week. We
Okay.
Pair up with our primary school and do it. We all do it together. So
fun. Well, tell us a little bit about who you are and your background in education.
Okay, so my name is Hadley Rapp. I have been a school counselor for 11 years. I'm not sure where the time has gone. It feels like yesterday I just started. I live and work in a small rural town in Missouri. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in counseling with a license in school counseling. I've been at my current school for the last 3 years. We're a 3 through 5 building. But prior to that, I worked in a pre-K through 5 school. So I've never worked above 5th grade, but the 3rd through 5th grades are where my heart's at. So I love working with those aged kiddos.
For sure. When I was at the school, it was the same split, like the primary school and the upper elementary.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that because there is a lot of difference between like a kindergartner and a 5th grader.
So such a big difference. I feel like the 3rd through 5th graders, they're still young enough that you can mold them and shape them, but they're old enough that you can have those hard conversations if you need to have them. So
Definitely. Awesome. Well, yeah, this is part of a series we're doing where I'm interviewing counselors because I just know as a podcast listener, I listen to a lot of different podcasts just for fun. And I love the guest episodes. They're just kind of fun to hear from other people. So tell us, what do you love about school counseling?
I love that I get the opportunity to be the safe and steady presence for my students. I have the unique opportunity to see every single kid in my building for 3 years in a row. Like we're together for 3 years. We build those relationships with each other over those 3 years, and I teach them classroom lessons. Plus, I'm always available if they need something. And so I just love the dynamics of my role and being able to help them remember that they always have somebody in their corner. And my goal is when they leave and go to middle school, they leave knowing that I will always be in their corner rooting for them and always be a safe person for them to come to if they need it. So that's what I love
I
about my
love
job.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that's a really good point about every student because I feel like teachers, they have like their class, they're like 20 something
Hmm.
kids, but you get all the kids, like your case
Yeah.
with everybody.
Yeah.
And you said you're at your school a few years now, so I'm guessing you've got to see some of those kiddos go all the way through,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, so my current fifth graders were third graders my first year in our building.
Okay.
And I've really just seen those kids grow. And I feel like I know them so well. I've just built those relationships with them. I'm going to miss them so much when they go to middle school. So.
Yeah, I bet. Oh, so how big is your caseload? About how many kids are at your school?
I have about 300, give or take. Like, you always have kids coming and going,
Yeah.
but we kind of stay steady pretty much around the 300 mark. So.
And are you the only counselor?
I am the only counselor in my building. Yeah. There in our school district, we have one counselor per building, except for the high school. They have three counselors. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, tell us, I wanted to, when I was looking out for guests, I was like, what's something you feel like you're good at or a strength that you have? And you mentioned individual counseling, which
Yeah.
I love. So I want to know, I just want to pick your brain. Tell us some of your
Yeah.
strategies or why you feel like this is one of your strengths, individual counseling session.
I love individual counseling. It's probably my favorite part of my job. I mentioned earlier, I see every kid in the classroom setting, but I feel like it can be so different in the classroom setting because you have to have classroom management, and it kind of takes away from getting to know each kid on an individual level. And then when you have those individual counseling sessions, they get to know you, you get to know them. And you just build those relationships that really help them when they are having hard times. And I always tell like my incoming third graders when they come in, because they don't know me. So I always tell them like, I want to hear from you, even if it's good things or bad things. Come talk to me. And usually it becomes like a lot in the beginning of the school year. They're always wanting to come see me, but I view that as a good thing because we're building a relationship. They feel comfortable, they feel safe coming to talk to me about anything. And then when the hard things do happen, because hard things do happen, then they know that they can come and talk to me. It's a safe place. They're comfortable. They've been here. And so I think that that's my favorite thing, just getting to know the kids, being able to know them on a personal level. I can't tell you how many kids um, I feel like I have wonderful relationships with, and that's just based off of those individual counseling sessions when they come to see me, and we are just getting to know each other, building that rapport. Then by the time they hit fifth grade, they know that I have someone in my corner. Mrs. Rapp's in my corner. I can go to her when I need her. Um,
I love that. I love that you're kind
yeah.
of taking a preventative approach to individual because I feel like I'm always telling people, oh, your class lessons, that's like your
Mhm.
tier one preventative, and then everything
Yeah.
else is kind of like a referral based,
Right.
more like reactive counseling. But by telling the kids, hey, you can come see me one on one before anything's wrong, that's a really cool
Hmm.
approach that I think a lot of
Yeah.
people aren't doing.
Especially when you only have the three grades. Those third graders don't know me.
Hmm.
They've been with a different counselor for since kindergarten, so they're coming in. It can be scary. I can't imagine what it's like to start a new school with a new counselor and all these new people that you don't know during third grade. And I always say third grade is like that natural transition grade in elementary school where things start to look different and they start to get harder and those peer relationships um, become harder and they don't really know how to handle those peer relationships. So having someone that they know that they can trust is vital, I think, in that third grade age range. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's definitely a big transition year.
yeah,
So what about logistically? How do you manage? Because it sounds like you have a mix of maybe like kids you're seeing
Hmm.
weekly as well as like those drop-ins, like, hey, I just want to come talk to you. Because I have a lot of counselors who struggle with the scheduling, the logistics part. They're like, I don't have time to do class lessons or groups because I'm
Hmm.
full of these one-on-one times. And the individuals, as you know, like take up the same amount of time, but you're only seeing one kid versus like a
Right.
group or a class lesson. Any strategies for that?
So really when I am seeing a kid, if it's a pop-in kid, so they show up with their little referral note from their teacher, we just talk. We start out just talking. I give them my full attention. They tell me what's going on. If I feel like it is a situation that is going to take quite a bit of time, longer than I would like for them to be out of the classroom, then I look for a natural breaking point in that conversation. And then I say, okay, I'm going to come get you again tomorrow at this time. That way they know that I'm not just like pushing them out the door to go
Mhm.
back to class, but they also know that they need to get back to class. There's so many things that they need to be in the classroom for, right? So once I get them calm, once I get them in a good place to go back to the classroom, then I remind them like, hey, I'm gonna come get you again tomorrow. We're gonna revisit this conversation for a couple of things. We know that our brains don't work the right way when we're emotional, right? And so if they talk it out, calm down, go back to class, come back tomorrow, then they're able to see it in a different light. They're calmer and we're able to work through the situation a little bit more. If it doesn't work, then we that's when I start scheduling the hey, I want you to come back at this time tomorrow. I have a couple kids that come to see me once a week, and they know specifically what time to come see me. I don't have to remind them; they remind me, so that is nice. And but I don't have a lot that do that because we just kind of I work to work through those problems so that we don't have to be continuously coming back to see me week after week. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea about having them come back the next day. And a lot of times, maybe the problem's even like minimized, right? Like something
Right.
that
Yeah.
seems so big in the moment after a little break isn't as big of a deal.
Yes. Yes. So, and they
Awesome.
like the idea of being able to come back and see me. They're like, oh,
Right.
I get to go back and see her. So,
For sure.
that always makes them feel special and like they're being listened to and like they're being heard. And everybody, even adults, want to feel like someone's listening and that they're being heard. And my students are the same thing. They just want to be
Right.
heard. So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like with individual counseling, it's almost like just the act itself of having the one-on-one time is almost as
Yes.
important as like whatever activity you're doing. Like a lot of
Hmm.
times counselors get wrapped up like, I don't know what to do. But I
Yeah.
know in my own experience, some of my best sessions, we were just like doing a puzzle or something and
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah, sometimes if I am not kind of sure what direction the conversation's gonna go, we'll pull out a game and we'll
Hmm.
play like Spot It or Jenga or something, and then the conversation just naturally flows, and then they start to open up and tell me like what's really going on, what's
Right.
really bothering them, and they don't even realize they're doing it because they're playing a game in their mind. So,
Right. Exactly.
um, and then we have fun. So,
So, as you know, as being a counselor, every day is different, which makes it kind of exciting
yes,
compared to like the routine of a classroom teacher. So,
yeah.
but if you had to describe kind of like a day in the life as a school counselor, what does that look like for you?
A typical day, as long as like nothing is going crazy, my day is kind of split in half. So the first half of my day is when I have time to do my individual counseling. That's also when I have two small groups that I run 4 days a week. So one group meets with me Mondays and Wednesdays, and then another group meets with me Tuesdays and Thursdays. And we leave Fridays for makeup. So like if we don't have school on a Monday, that group
Mhm.
would make up on Friday. And so I do all of that in the morning. Um, and then in the afternoon, I teach. I am a part of our specials rotation, which I know a lot of people are like a lot of counselors are very against that. That's how it's always been at both schools that I've been at. So I just try to look for like the positives in that situation and remind myself that I don't have to fight to get into the classroom to teach
True.
guidance
Yeah.
lessons. I It's already built in, and every kid is getting to see me and I get to build those relationships with them, to once again help them feel comfortable coming to see me for those harder situations. They recognize me, they know who I am because of those classroom lessons. So I teach 3 50-minute lessons, so one grade each day, um, throughout the week. So I see every class in our building every week. So that's how I spend my afternoons. So my mornings are for individual counseling, small groups, whatever kind of fires kind of come up,
Mm-hmm.
meetings, that kind of thing. And then my afternoons are devoted to teaching. I do have one day a week where I only teach one class. So I have that afternoon to kind of catch up and plan and do other things that I might need to do. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've always had not been in the specials rotation, had to do my
Hmm.
own scheduling, which is kind of nice, but at the same time, it is like a burden of the logistics and
Yeah.
scheduling. So,
I'm
but
a
50
firm
minutes,
believer. Yeah,
that's
I'm
nice.
a firm believer in trying to find like the positives in the situation. So if I've had to do lunch duty in the past, okay, yep, not a regular school counseling duty, but let's find the positives. This is a good time to connect with kids and check in at the middle of the day and say, hey, how's your day going? You doing okay? Do you need anything? And so being in the specials rotation, while it's not ideal, I don't have to fight to get into the classroom. It's just organically there and it is
Right.
scheduled for me. So, yeah.
I love that. Now, for my last question, I always like to ask, what advice would you give to a new school counselor? Because I know some of our listeners maybe are in grad school
Mhm.
or they're like considering entering the profession. So, what advice would you give?
I think there's two big things that a new school counselor should remember. And the first thing is build relationships before you build your program. Build the relationships with your students, build the relationships with your coworkers and the families. And then I feel like the program stuff will kind of fall into place after that. You have people in your corner at that point, people on your side. They understand the importance of your job, and then it's easier to put in the components of a school counseling program from that point of view. And then I think that the next thing would be to set boundaries, like leave. It can be so hard. And I tell myself this all the time, leave work at work. Don't take work home with you. If someone's asking you to do something, but you don't have time, you're already stretched too thin. It's okay to say no. Set those boundaries for yourself, and just stick to them because you are going to be pushed, and people are going to try to cross those boundaries. But if you don't, you're going to wear yourself out. So
I
those
think
would be
that's
the
such
two
sound
things.
advice. Yes,
Yes.
I love the first thing because it reminds me of my first year. I went into this and it was like a very seasoned staff. Like these teachers had been here for like decades. They even had
Right.
students that they had taught their parents. Like it was that kind of vibe. And I was
Yeah.
like first year and I'm like, all right, we're gonna do this and this and this. And they were I'm like, who are you? So
Yes.
I think building the
Yes.
relationship first is great
Mhm.
advice. Yeah.
I followed, so when I came to this building, the counselor that was here before me had been here for like almost like 15 plus years. So
Hmm.
I knew coming in, I was like coming in to like fill these big shoes, but I also thought it would be a nice like opportunity, a fresh restart. Let's reevaluate things. Let's look at how things are done and maybe we can find things that would work better in other places and then maybe we can keep some of the things. And so I would say this has been my favorite year so far. I've really gotten to know the staff. I consider them friends. I know the parents, I know the families. And so I feel like I've really been able to step in and kind of implement the things that I wanted to implement. For example, I convinced our school district this year to purchase a new counseling curriculum.
Oh,
Yeah, and so that was like I was so excited about it and it's been wonderful. My building uses it and the primary school uses it. So that was not something I would have felt comfortable doing 2 years ago when I first
right.
started here, but
What is it?
Character Strong, have you heard of
Mhm.
it?
Yeah.
Yes, we are loving it so far. So
Oh, good.
it's been such a nice thing to have handy instead of just trying to piece together different lessons. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Hadley. It's so great to hear from you. I know the other listeners are going to love this episode. Yeah, just thanks for coming on and sharing. It's so refreshing to hear what people are up to.
Thank you so much. It was so nice to be on it. I'm excited to listen.
I hope you loved this interview with Hadley. Like I said, I'm doing my training on individual counseling. Next week, I'm going to be sharing how you can engage students and effectively track data. You're going to walk away with some easy to implement engagement strategies and ideas that you can use right away, as well as tips for tracking data to measure the effectiveness of your individual counseling interventions. I just know you're going to love it. I'm offering a couple different times, so go ahead and save your seat at stressfreeschoolcounseling.com/individual.
Thanks for listening to School Counseling Simplified. You can find the links from today's episode in the show notes. If you'd like to connect with Rachel, she's on Instagram and Teachers Pay Teachers at Bright Futures Counseling. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any episodes of School Counseling Simplified. Talk to you next week.